Now let's take a look at the current night sky for the end of June going in July. And so we're out roughly almost about 11:30 or so, and you face towards the north. And remember, as you find your compass direction to find the 7 stars of the Big Dipper, and then you take the 2 end stars of the bowl of the Big Dipper. Facing right over here, we find Polaris. Okay, so that's the first step to take. There it is right here. There's Polaris right here, and there's the Big Dipper. 2 stars at the end of the bowl goes right to Polaris, and that's how you find north. And then once you're out there, you find yourself facing north. Then turn around, face toward the south. Okay, and to face toward the south, you immediately will see Jupiter and Saturn. Okay? And so they have finally reached to the point that you could see it in the evening after sunset, and just starting to emerge above the southeast horizon. Okay? And so we see the constellations here. There's the Milky Way. From the city, you wouldn't be able to see the Milky Way, but if you're out in the country, out on the campground or out in the park, you would find the Milky Way fairly bright. Then we have Sagittarius, we have Scorpion. So right here is Jupiter and Saturn. Okay? And so now we're going to be focusing on just the planets. So let's first take a look at Jupiter. And Jupiter, right now it's at a minus 2.5. That's fairly bright. Saturn and Jupiter and Venus are some of the brightest planets you can see in the nighttime sky. So after the full moon, you have Venus, can reach up to 4.5, and then we have Jupiter. And Jupiter is about 4 astronomical units away. And so you can see the rise and set time right there. And I want to point out that Jupiter is coming up to opposition in the month of July. Well, what that means is that the Earth is in between Jupiter and the Sun, making the planet visible all night long from sunset to sunrise, and it's at its brightest and closest distance to the Earth. And that's what astronomers look for, is the opposition. Get a closer look at Jupiter. And zoom in, and you zoom in with probably a 8-inch, 10-inch telescope higher. You can even see it with a 6-inch or binoculars. You start seeing the 4 Galilean moons, which say Ganymede, and then there's Io, Callisto, and Europa, and there's Jupiter. Let's get a closer look at Jupiter. Okay, Jupiter, and look at that. The red spot is facing towards the Earth. So on June 22nd, it would be facing towards the Earth, but you can always just change the date down here to find out if the red spot is facing towards the Earth at a particular time. So Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system, and it's a gas giant. And when you look at it in binoculars or a telescope, you actually can back up a little bit. You can see the band, and if you're in the right time in the right place, you can see the red spot. And the red spot in the southern hemisphere, it's a huge storm. You can actually put Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars inside that red spot with some room to spare. Right? You zoom in and you see Jupiter, the largest planet. It turns on its axis for about roughly 10 hours. So if you want a short work day, go to Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter turns on its axis fairly quickly. and goes around the sun roughly about 12 years. So essentially, as it makes its way around the sun in view from the Earth, it will continue to go from one zodiacal constellation to the next each year. Okay? So here we have Jupiter, easy planet to look at, and talk a little bit about these four Galilean moons. You have Ganymede, Io, Callisto, and Europa. And they were first discovered by Sir Galileo in about 1609, 1610, using a very small telescope. Even binoculars today are stronger than a telescope he was using. But he saw these bright points of light around Jupiter. And because Jupiter turns on its axis to it for about 10 hours, let me show you this. Go back to this clock here and make sure that Jupiter is centered, so it'll look like it's centered. And so if we go from one day to the next, even 1 hour, you can go like this. Okay, we can go forward. Okay, you can see that the moon are changing its position by the hour. You can go back to where we started, and if you go by the day, let's go 22nd, 23rd, look at that. Okay, the moons change their position relative to Jupiter by the hour. Okay? And a good resource here, so if you want to find out which moon is which, it's difficult to see. Actually, when you're viewing it for the first time, it's hard to identify. So if you do a little bit of homework, you go to the inthesky.org website, which I highly recommend, and show you that if you go to Home, then Chart, find the moons of Jupiter. And once you're there, you go to that website, and then you'll see right at the top there, just zoom in on that a little bit, you have Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. So Io has kind of a brownish color. Europa looks a little bit like it's gold. Ganymede is red, and Callisto is blue. Now if you were to go out tonight and you say, okay, this is going to be June 23rd, okay, and the red is Ganymede. It's going to be to the left of Jupiter. This dark band is Jupiter. And then this gold band coming around, look like that's Europa. And then the blue is Callisto. And then we have, I guess that's looking like either Io or Europa, and kind of see Europa or Io, but you see the moons in their position. Okay? So as you go from one night to another, you see how the moon change their position relative to Jupiter. Okay? And so if you were to go out anytime during the month of July, do a little bit of homework, you can actually figure out which moon is which. Some application on the phone will show you clearly how you can find some of these moons that we're talking about when we're looking at them. Okay? So that's a really nice resource. Back into our evening sky. So there you can find Jupiter and the moons. Now, keep in mind when you're looking at Jupiter, Jupiter had the four Galilean moons, but it actually has up about the 76. And so let me show you a very useful website that you can do to find out which more about each of the planets. And this is a fun website, and it's developed by NASA Science. It's called Solar System Exploration. A lot of good information. And so you go to that site, take your mouse, and you can actually move the screen a little bit. Right? And what you have are the planets. So let's go to the center of our solar system. And we have the Sun. Okay, and then there's Mercury, and you can move up, there's Mercury. Parker Probe is one in the mission, It highlights that. And then we have Venus. And then we back out, there's Earth. And there's Mars. Continue to go outward. Okay, remember we have the asteroid belt between the Mars and Jupiter, so we see some of the dwarf planet or the asteroids. And then we have Jupiter right there. And then continue out, we got Saturn. And continue to go outward, there's Uranus, there's Halley Comet, Neptune, and Pluto. So you can see the inner planets are fairly tight to the Sun. In the outer planet, there's much more space in between. So let's go back in and show you planet Jupiter. Okay, and so if you click on that, okay, that's the probe. So let's click on Jupiter and get a little bit, and there we go. We highlight that. Here's Jupiter. Okay, and it shows you a little bit of information. So you're looking for information, this is a good resource. There's Jupiter talking length of year, almost 12 Earth years. And it's now at a distance of 5.2 astronomical units. One astronomical unit is 93 million miles. That's the distance between the Earth and the Sun. So we are now looking at 5.2 is the distance from the Sun for Jupiter. It's known as the king of the Roman gods. Right now it has 79 moons total. So we saw the 4 Galilean moons. Those are the largest moons that we can actually see. Okay? And so let's zoom in a little bit on Jupiter. Okay, so back to the evening sky, and there's Jupiter, and it will be visible in our evening sky for the summer. And keep in mind, it's going to reach opposition around July 14th. So that would be the best time to view Jupiter when it's at its brightest and closest to the Earth. And it's easy to locate and everybody's favorite planet to look at in telescope. And then just about 5-6 degrees to Jupiter's left, we're now looking at Saturn. And Saturn, right now, in this time period, it's about a magnitude just around 0. And it's further away from the Earth and Sun than Jupiter, the second largest planet in the solar system. And so it will reach opposition in July as well. So if we zoom in on Saturn, and in a telescope and binoculars, you can actually see the ring. So it looks something like this in the field of view. You can actually see the ring because Saturn is tilted roughly about 25 degrees towards the Earth. So the plane of the ring is facing towards the Earth. You can actually see the planet, the gap, and the ring very nicely. Okay? And so this is also a very popular planet in star parties and such. And so you notice that all these labels are showing up. These are Saturn's moon. There's about 82 moons and counting. And so there are a lot of moons around Saturn. But I want to highlight, though, that Saturn's ring goes around the equator. Hey, it's made up of millions and millions of ice chunks traveling at tremendous speed, roughly 10,000 miles per hour. That's why it seems to be as a plane. And you see gaps. Right? And what happened over the millions of years, there's been a moon that's kind of plowing through the ring system and creating what we call the divisions. Right? So we have all these moons, and the largest moon is Titan. Right? And Titan is actually can be visible in a telescope and binoculars. So just like Jupiter, you do your homework, you can find the position of Titan related to Jupiter, the planet. Okay? And so Saturn, it can be easy to spot, and it's going to be just to the left of Jupiter. So between Saturn and Jupiter, they're going to be the main show for the summer. And now let me show you the websites that you can get more information about Saturn. So now let me show you the website for the solar system exploration. And you can look at information on Saturn. Shows you the distance, roughly under 1 billion miles away, the type of the planet it is. You scroll down and you get the latest images of the beautiful planet Saturn. And so if you need to do some research on Saturn, this is a great website to go to and show you the highlights of the planet and show you the number of rings and so on. So highly recommend that you go to this website to get the latest on Saturn. So when you go out and you see Jupiter and Saturn, back up a little bit, you can see how they sit right next to each other. Let me do this. It'll show you what they will look like for the next few days. And so if you go forward, you see that they stay fairly close, and Moon's going to make a nice swing by Jupiter and Saturn around the 4th of July. That'll be a nice show. But they remain about 5 or 6 degrees, so they're actually getting closer. As you reach opposition, okay, we just passed Jupiter opposition, and then this is Saturn opposition on July 20th. Okay? And so you can see here, you're facing toward the south. July 20th would be an ideal night to look at these two planets. They'll be at its closest distance. Jupiter is going to be about a minus 2.59. Wow, that's bright. Okay? And then we look at Saturn. And Saturn's improved a little bit, but it's around at 0. Still visible to the naked eye. And so you're out and about, you see what those two bright points of light are. Toward the south, you're looking at Saturn and Jupiter. As you can see that if we go forward, they'll remain in our evening sky until about the 1st of August. Okay? And so this would be a great time to look at the gas giants. Okay? But we take a look over here, not too far away. It's starting to emerge. It's Mars. Okay? And Mars in late June, okay, it's just starting to emerge into the evening sky. So in relation to Saturn and Jupiter, it's going to be to the far left, much dimmer. It's only about a minus, almost a -1, close to a 0. Okay? And so Mars is going to be emerging into the evening sky late June. So let me go forward a little bit. You can see it improves if we go into the, July. Okay? And so if you get higher, okay, so improve. So it's still going to be a good viewing. So in relation to Jupiter and Saturn, it's going to be always going to be to the far left. Okay? So this is a red planet, and the 4th planet in order from the Sun, half the size of the Earth, known as the rocky red planet. Okay? And Mars doesn't show a lot of details in a telescope compared to Saturn and Jupiter. Because for one thing, it's smaller. And this is a rocky red planet. The soil made up of iron oxide and has a very thin atmosphere of carbon dioxide. And so this is the most visited planet without question in the solar system. And it had 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos. They are not visible to a backyard telescope because they're just simply too small. Right? But you see primarily a red dot. Right? And Mars will be in the news, no doubt, in July. We have another rover. Actually, they're going to be, I believe, 2 or 3 rovers. They're heading toward Mars. The United States is one of them from JPL called the Perseverance. And then there are 2 other countries that are sending their rovers to the planet Mars. So it's going to get lots of visitors again heading towards the red planet. Okay? And so Mars you're getting closer. It has in the north and south region, we see the polar ice cap. Right? It is possible to see it in the backyard telescope, but you have to have like a 12-inch or higher, be able to even resolve any kind of polar cap. So let me show you the website that you can go to find out more about Mars. When you go to the website for Mars, you immediately will notice that there's highlighting the upcoming mission for the rover Perseverance. This is a unique rover that is going to be equipped with really some spectacular cameras. Had ability to be able to drill into the soil of Mars and collect samples and keep the samples inside and store it so later in the future they'll be able to retrieve those samples from the rover. There's a lot of excitement and it's due to launch sometime around July 20th. And so you'll have some capabilities with these fancy cameras to take some amazing pictures. But if you go back down, you can see there's information about the red planet. You got lots of fun things that you can look at on the planet. So to say the planet, so about the geology and facts, where the Mars can be found in the night sky, and the moons. Take a look at the atmosphere. You have a dashboard to kind of show what the current temperature. Look at that, it's a high of 43. Wow. And then it's a minus 94. That is pretty extreme temperature between day and night, and that's because it has a very thin atmosphere of carbon dioxide. I talked about the distance, and so you can see there's a lot of cool stuff on the Mars. And you scroll down, you get more like Jupiter and Saturn. You get the latest information about the past missions, the future mission, some videos. And so if you want information about Mars, I highly recommend that you go to this website. So Mars will be visible in our evening sky pretty much starting now, but in the month of July and August you'll see Mars will be fairly prominent in the evening sky. So if I were to show you, let's say here we are on July 18th, and there's the opposition for Saturn, and then Mars, you can see it, let's retrograding a little bit. And so we have Mars in the evening sky. There's August, still in the evening sky, September, and so on. So you can see you have advanced quickly up to October. It will still be in the evening sky, November, and then into December. Right? So Mars will put on a nice show for the evening for the rest of 2020. So I encourage you to go out and take a look at the planet Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars in our night sky. And you can use any one of these apps that I have used in the past. You can use these apps to help you locate these planets and give you the details and go to the website.